This episode of Heroes of the Horn is brought to you by Laura Lynn of the White Aja. She considers the questions of truth with implacable logic.
Welcome to Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sir Matt.
And I am Sir Ezra. Welcome to our Wheel of Time book club. The horn has sounded, and we have answered the call. Today we are covering The Great Hunt, chapters 11 through 19.
Yeah, as things are picking up, we're doing some traveling.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of traveling to their new... it seems like what the story arc will be for the remainder of the book, right? We have Rand and one of my new favorant characters, Huron, the sniffer, right? Yeah, he's super cool. He's out there sniffing. We're traveling. We're chasing down Padan Fain. We get some insight on him. He took off with the Horn of Alir last time. Yeah. And then Nynaeve and Egwene get some training with, they're on their way to Tarvalin to train to become Aes Sedai. They get some training. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool where we're going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's awesome. And we were talking before we started. This is really, as we say, a lot of traveling, a lot of moving. And along the way, we're learning about the different characters in each of our, bands, right? So you've got the Aes Sedai moving, and you've got the Shanaran kind of doing their thing, and we're going to learn about each of those and what they're scared of, what they're into, what they're looking for, more about their cultures, all that kind of stuff. So it's really just learning those types of things. It can be a little bit of this is, I guess, the only point. I think this is one of the only points in the story where it starts to be kind of like, okay, we had a real big, awesome intro, and then boom, let's take it down, let's slow it down. Even though we're on this hunt, and some people may disagree with me. This part may just take off for some people. And there are certain chapters that definitely have some hype and some real intense moments. But again, overall, yeah, we're moving to a certain point where the last chapter that we're going to cover today is pretty cool. Pretty awesome. We finally get some success, and we seem like it's just ebb and flow. It's back and forth. We're up on in one chapter, then we're down in the next, and so on. So it'll be pretty cool. But hey, before we get to all of that, how you doing, buddy? How's it going?
Man, I'm good, hanging in there, doing okay, doing my social distancing, not really going out much. I think I'm actually canceling. I'm supposed to come back to Ohio next week. I think I'm probably just going to cancel that.
Yeah.
I'm more not worried about me spreading the virus, but more so worried about me getting it. I've been pretty much inside for the past month. So probably just do that. But other than that, just hanging out, really, doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of working out at home, not working right now. So just a lot of content creation across the board.
Yes, absolutely. And, that's actually a good time, I think, for us to mention that, if you only listen to our Wheel of Time podcast, Heroes of the Horn, we do several other podcasts that we're interested in. So if you're interested in Star Wars, we do Hyperspace Hangout. If you're interested in Lord of the Rings, Up Talking Tolkien is something I do with my buddy Lane. If you're interested in video games, we got Box Trick with Matt. We've got Game of Thrones content, so there's a lot. I mean, it's fun stuff, and they're all fandoms that we're really excited about, and we've been reading about or studying for years. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we're definitely keeping busy with that, and it's been productive, at least, if anything, because it's tough. I mean, I went to the store the other day for my dad just to kind of get some stuff, and wow, it's just different. It's just so different, and it's going to take some time to get used to. So we hope everyone's staying safe and doing well. I was supposed to be in Jordan Con and in these different cons I was planning on going to here in April. Definitely not happening anymore. So the month of April has been very strange for me. We had one in Mount Sterling, Ohio we were going to go to, and then Jordan Con, I think, was supposed to be either this weekend or it was last weekend. I can't remember. But, things have just been topsy-turvy. So.
I know, man. I know. Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to have our Game of Thrones our game. That's the whole reason I was coming back. For next weekend. Our Ice and Fire Con.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is what it is. So here we are in trying to adjust all of this, and we, like I said, we hope you guys are doing well. And if you are sitting there and you would like, I want to throw something out here to our listeners. Feel free to send me either a message on Twitter if you want, like a direct message at womprat_2m. I think we have our Twitter handles down in the down below, or you can go to the Horn of Valir. You can send me just a message there. I'm looking for some spoiler level of like Twitter polls. And again, Sir Matt will not be seeing these, okay? Mm-hmm. So, but I kind of am trying to take it up a notch in our Twitter, and I found I just want to see if some folks have some pretty interesting, poll ideas just for fun, maybe once a week or something. So if you have something that you think would be kind of clever, let me know. Be more than willing to kind of mention you in that tweet, and thank you for the poll, idea or subject. But I thought that'd be kind of cool. It's a big series. I know we've reached out to your brother, and mm-hmm. he kind of helps us with content as well. So yeah, anybody who wants to send us a couple poll ideas, I think would be really cool. Now the ones that I create on Patreon are simply just, they're not spoiler. So they're really just about what we were talking about here inside the group and covering in the most recent batch of chapters, essentially. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. So send me a message, and I'd love to kind of get that going. And if you're not following us on Twitter, you should be, the Horn of Valir. Make sure you're there. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't follow it on Twitter because I don't want to see the spoilers.
No,
but you should.
Oh, it's actually crazy because it's funny. Like the characters. If anyone goes to Twitter and you look at who I am following on there, and the whole Twitter of time, and when this whole thing started, there are so many people, and I can't help it actually, but to retweet some funny memes. And to retweet like these quotes, and the people who comment on our podcast, by the way. So Sir Matt, we post the generic sort of new podcast episode is up. They go on there and like, oh, sweet, cool. Well, the names of these individuals are characters who you have not come across yet. Right. And I'm sitting there going,
exactly, shoot, man, I can't, I can't do it.
Yeah, and so what I like about Wheel of Time is they're really cool names. Like he comes up with really, I mean, I think Randall Thor is a great name. Perrin is a cool name. So I really like Robert Jordan's just the creation of names, how he derives those. And so anyways, later on, I mean, some of their names are really cool and they're badass. And I know the temptation would be there to go, look, who's that? And some of them even have like their profile picture looks like that character. And it's like, oh boy, we don't need that guy showing up yet. But so that's been kind of fun. And that's where I guess I get a chance to have a little bit of fun, just spoiler wise, looking at those. And I've been saving some of these memes for when Sir Matt gets to certain points because they're hysterical and they make total sense. But anyways, just wanted to throw it out there for folks to go have some fun on Twitter and get involved in all of that. It's been a lot of fun there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, man. Well, there's not really any show news because everything shut down.
Yeah, I know. So, I haven't heard any rumblings or anything. I don't know if they, because we were speculating like, was there going to be a trailer later this? Like, were they intending to release a trailer at Comic-Con this summer? Do they have even enough to do that if they wanted to? All those things we were thinking about because. There were sets built, like they were working on stuff. It's just, it's crazy. So, I don't know. But yeah, as we get updates, or we've said in the past, if you guys get updates on the show, let us know. We'd love to kind of talk about it. And again, if anybody's working for the show and you want to be an inside source, come on now.
Absolutely, we'll take it.
Sound the horn. I'm just kidding. But yeah, all right, cool. So then I guess what we need to do, my friend, we're going to kind of jump into the chapters this week. We are going to cover more of the Patreon stuff in our extended edition. So been kind of a crazy day for me and actually a crazy week. And we wanted to make sure we got this episode, done and things. So it's going to be a little bit different. I think we're going to go almost chapter by chapter and really just sort of talk about what happened, some major takeaways from those chapters. And this, we've said in the past, this format may change just a little bit. as we go week to week. But really, what I'd like to hear from Matt is just off the cuff. What happened in these batch of how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
oh
6,
my
7, 9
God,
chapters.
man. Yeah. Our too long didn't read section. Where to begin? So, our story begins. Now everyone's out traveling, right? We've all left. We're all going on our own separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
Nynaeve and Egwene are being trained, right? We learned a little bit about Nynaeve, that she is what's the term
wilder
for
it?
A wilder. Yes,
yeah.
Nynaeve is a wilder. And then the woman training her starts with a V.
Varen. Yeah.
Varen. Yeah, Varen. I think she's hilarious, right? When she's training them, and she has this kind of thing of like, well, if you want to take a break, then perhaps you could go do some chores. Oh, you want to continue? Oh, okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I mean, she's great. And then, my God, towards the end, Rand and Selene. Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Jesus. I mean, you think Lan and Nynaeve's tension is bad. Oh, my God.
Right. Yeah, what's going on?
I was like, Selene is coming on to Rand hard, and I was like, all caps. Like when I texted you're like, oh yeah, man, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so lots of good stuff today. So we will kind of go chapter by chapter here. Let me just read through these various chapters. So in chapter 11, we've got Ingtar and Rand, who basically becomes second in command. We've got Perrin, who is reasoning out that Rand can channel. We've also gotten that in chapter 12, Egwene and Nynaeve, as you said, they've set up for Tar Valon. They're learning some lessons along the way. Rand and Huron, they are, with Loyal, by the way, are transported to another world. We'll talk about portal stones here later. In Huron's absence, Perrin uses his senses, right? His extra senses, his wolf vision and sniffer. Interesting that we have two different types of sniffers. So then in chapter 15, Rand follows the trail of dark friends and has a dream with our good friend Balsamon, right? Well, I shouldn't have said it that way. But Rand and company encounter Selene, right? That happens in chapter 16. Chapter 17, at Selene's urging, they are able to avoid this monster in this other world and use the portal stones. And then Egwene, back to them, Egwene and Nynaeve, more lessons again before arriving in Tar Valon. And then in chapter 19, where we leave you today, Rand takes back the Horn of Valir. Let's go. So, all right, let's get after this. So we're just going to kind of jump in here. Chapter 11. So this was Glimmers of the Pattern. And here's my thing. I've said it before. I love Ingtar. I think he's great. And people can disagree with me, okay? But I like him a lot, and I kind of can't wait to talk about him in full. I'm just going to keep saying it, and when we get to the end of this book, I'll explain why. But he's pretty cool, and so yeah, we're realizing that like Lord Orgrimmar, when they left, man, this is again how Robert Jordan writes sometimes. We didn't know leaving that there was some secret conversation between maybe the Amyrlin seat and Moraine and Lord Orgrimmar. And instructions that were given to Ingtar. By the way, Ingtar is carrying this special package for Rand that he can't even give to him till later. So that kind of stuff happens all the time, right? It's a great device used by the author, which is, I'm going to hold this bit of information back. You don't know where Moraine is, and she's doing something. And so you're always kind of wondering what's going on over there. And he's able to kind of weave in these different elements, So, like, as you're reading this, Sir Matt, you're starting to think in this verse chapter here, chapter 11, that like when Rand gets this package from Ingtar, which is the banner, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. We know it's a big deal, and we know that that's sort of a good God. If Ingtar would have opened that, or if the other people, if they knew about it, like look at the reaction you get from Matt and Perrin. I mean, gee, Rand, what are you doing with that? It's almost just like it's like a live grenade. Like, holy cow, dude. So I thought that was pretty interesting just to kind of think about, and how we start with that, and Rand is just in this pickle. And then what'd you think about how Perrin and Matt reacted to that?
Well, Perrin and Matt, and especially Matt. I mean, Perrin literally tells Matt to shut up like 3 or 4 times. I mean, just like shut up, Matt, shut up. You know, I mean, Matt comes over, and it's almost like so when people just really. It's almost like watching Facebook sometimes, right? Where people are just really blowing stuff out of proportion. And, Matt comes over. I mean, geez, he's got a banner now. I mean, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, oh my God, like blood and ashes, Rand. I mean, come on. God, what is he, a false dragon? I mean, he's just like freak. It's like, dude, calm down, man. Like,
oh, man. Yeah, it's almost like you have your buddy at high school, right? Who one day, he's dressed like me. We're normal guys. We're doing whatever. And next day he shows up and he has gone through a change. I mean, he's wearing different clothes. He's dyed his hair and different things. Because, they make a reference to, well, look at the clothes you're wearing now. I mean, apparently you're some lord to these people. And he keeps saying, I'm a shepherd, but no one believes him. I mean, it's kind of fascinating, actually, that just the way he walks and the way he carries himself. And there is something weird. What's been odd all along is to have your mates. Number one, he's in odd company. He's in odd company with Loyal and Ogier. He's got some of these women who can channel. The Amerlin seat shows up there right after all this stuff goes down. These Shanarans are basically, they know something's up. And they're not believing a word that Rand says. They've already made up their mind that he's important. They don't know how or why, but to them, he must be a lord. So they get that he's significant. They just don't really know what word to put on it. So he's a lord. He's a lordling.
Right.
He's supposedly he's from the Two Rivers, but he looks like an Aielman. He looks like an Aiel. And so there's that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Matt's freaking out. Like, what is, his friend is changing in front of his eyes, and it at least does sort of let them know. I think Perrin kind of gets his first as to why Rand did what he did back in Faldara, right? When he kind of tells him off. Remember that?
Right. Yeah, he's doing it to protect him. I mean, that's what he says. He says, I was trying to get rid of you guys. I mean, because he doesn't know what he's going to do yet. He just knows he doesn't want it, right? He doesn't want to be a puppet, and he's getting upset, right? He's like, Moraine giving me this, it's still, we're even so far away. She has her hand in everything, right?
That's right.
I mean,
yep. Yeah, the idea is that by giving him this freedom, as I said, I think it was the last time, getting him close to that door so I can push him through. He's not going to do it on his own, so I'll wait till he's nearby, and then we're good. If he feels me pushing him that way, he'll know the direction I want him to go, and he'll never head that way. So it has to be on his own, letting the pattern, or the wheel, whatever, guide him in that direction. Now, I mean, his friends are sort of like, why are you still here? I mean, like, wouldn't you run? Wouldn't you go away? And they're surprised that he is actually stuck around because of the dagger, and he's thinking about Matt. And that really lands with Matt. I think he's like, wow, okay, my friend is here. He's risking some, different things. He's risking being captured by Aes Sedai, who because that's something Perrin brings up. Not every Aes Sedai is going to be like Moraine. Some of them may, or even some of the Shanarans may call for the White Tower to come get him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the position that they're all in right now. Where, in an odd way, right? I mean, you could almost argue that they all need each other. Yeah, right now.
Yes.
I mean, regardless of the fact that Rand could go off and go do his own thing, they all need each other. And they all need to get through this together, and I think they're realizing that a little bit.
Yeah, and that in some odd way they feel drawn to one another, and they feel like they need to support each other and help each other. And I don't think this is any spoiler detail, but you could probably tell these three characters are going to be close throughout this series. Being good friends from the Two Rivers, and they're Taviran. I mean, so we're going to see a lot of things like this moving forward. But yeah, at least now they kind of understand, and it actually feels good to me, the reader, when I read this, because man, I did not like Rand yelling at Loyal, and Matt and Perrin. I'm like, come on, if you guys only knew, and Egwene does know, and that's sort of that just sucks. And you can totally see that in the show where they're going to do something like that, and there's going to be this divide, and you're sitting there rooting for Rand, like, guys, you don't know what he's going through, and then So anyways, that's cool. Made me kind of feel good to have this resolved between them. But yeah, they're nervous. They're definitely nervous about this. And I'll say this. I'm only going to say this. I'm going to be careful how I word this, but it's very interesting that Moiraine doesn't just, she had to
tell
figure
them
out
all what to do.
Yeah, that, and also like the pack, giving him the banner. It's interesting how she went about it and how she makes sure that he's far enough away from Moiraine and anyone else where he can't stash it or hide it anywhere. He has to keep it on him. He has to keep it on himself. Like, so he's the guy who, if he's found and you go through his pack and all of his stuff, I mean, he's got this banner that is proclaiming he's the Dragon Reborn. So, she finessed that in giving it to Inktar, and I just think it's pretty fascinating that she had that plan, and maybe there's protections, and that's a pretty big artifact to send off with just anybody. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the biggest of deal. I mean, to be entirely honest, it's not like she just gave him, a blanket or something. I mean, she gives him a banner of the dragon.
Yeah. One from like the Age of Legends. I mean, like it's a big deal, and it will be the thing that when people see that, they will rally around, but it's also the thing that could draw a lot of really bad attention from White Cloaks and from Aes Sedai, really powerful groups. I mean, maybe the small folk might, flock to it, or people who would want to, swear themselves to the dragon, but yeah, that's, something else.
Yeah.
So
okay, so the second part of this chapter is Padan Fain's point of view, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's a little bit to the south, and Padan Fain's having these thoughts, right? He's thinking about how he was a dark friend, and how it's Balsamon that summoned him. Things are a little bit different than now, though, right? I mean, he's got the dagger, and he can tell, it's like how what it did to Matt, right? And how Matt's kind of like almost like addicted to this the dagger.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, and actually, you go back, look at Padan Fain's, just how he was in prison back in Faldara, and one of the polls I had for Patreon was actually, would you go visit him in prison? And then when you do go visit him in prison, he's changing. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on there. Like he's done some stuff to basically change. I mean, where once like a Fade or a Murdral could order him around and tell him to do stuff, whether it's the dagger or whether it's going through Shadar Logoth or whatever, he definitely is upgraded in some way, and is not a good dude, and is a dangerous dude. So yeah, there's that. I mean, he keeps thinking about. So yeah, he tells like, they come across this village, right, and it's death. I mean, Huron, by the way, the sniffer, is smelling out death.
Who's great, by the way.
Oh,
Huron,
God.
Huron's a great new character to the cast.
Yes, he is awesome. I mean, he's great. And so yeah, he's smelling death and destruction along the way, and Padan Fain gives him plenty of that to sniff out. They end up piling up some bodies and stuff, for our friends to find, type of thing. So that's definitely not good. So yeah, that part's a little scary. We just kind of get some inside, we get some thoughts from Padan Fain where he's thinking about Rand and how we'll dance on Tommen Head and I'll be free of you. And he's thinking about how he's going to interact with each of these boys, and what ultimately this is headed to, some showdown. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so next we were at chapter 12, which is Flame of Tar-Valon. This is the it's Egwene's point of view, but it's Egwene and Nynaeve starting to learn, right, some of like the Tar-Valon's teaching, right? But then Egwene also has this dream, right?
Yeah.
She's explaining it. First there'd been a man with a mask over his face and fire in place of his eyes. Despite the mask, she had thought he was surprised to see her. His look had frightened her till she thought her bones would break from shivering, but suddenly he vanished, and she saw Rand sleeping on the ground, wrapped in a cloak. A woman had been standing over him, looking down. Her face was in a shadow, but her eyes seemed to shine like the moon, and Egwene had known she was evil. Then there was a flash of light, and they were gone, both of them.
Yeah, man, that's a cool part. I mean, this is where we get into, I mean, the whole first book, right? We have all these experiences in dreams. And what do dreams mean? And I think actually, Robert Jordan, this is very interesting. When you start to think about dream interpretation, you look at whether it's the Bible or any other faith or religion, and they look at dreams and how you interpret them. What do they mean? What do they signify? People who have dreamed about things to come and people who have dreamed about things from long ago. Sometimes people have deja vu in their dreams. So there's really something to this, and we're going to explore it more, and it's going to be interesting to pay attention to, because there is literally a dream world, right? I mean, it's like these guys keep kind of being sucked into these dreams. I mean, there's wolf dreams, which Perrin has already talked about. All three boys were, greeted or met by Balsamon. He tried to turn them. Weird things happen where like what happens in their dream seems to kind of carry over, like hurts and pains or tension and stuff like that. So that's weird. But yeah, you're right. She sees someone who's watching Rand, and she knows she's not good. She knows she's evil. So yeah, that's interesting. And what I think is really cool, you point out that's a really good point, when she comes across that figure, right, with the mask or with the flames and stuff. Like that individual, that person, I think we know who that is shocked that she's there, surprised. So that's kind of cool. That's the first indication that something's up. This could be a game changer, maybe something special about Egwene, and I like that. I like that a lot. So
yeah. So the rest of the chapter, right? We've got, they're traveling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're traveling. They rest a little bit. They talk a little bit about that Egwene and Nynaeve have both channeled, right? Nynaeve admits that she's channeled, even though she's kind of a novice, right? And so they try. That's where then they both try to embrace Saidar by using that flower, right?
Yes, they do. They kind of imagine it. Yeah. It's
you are the bud. You and the bud are one.
Yes, exactly. And it's sort of, it's almost like, we saw Rand going through his forms, and you think about, a lot of times he's talking about the void and almost like the flame. Of the void. Yeah, and so you were imagining those different types of things that are going on in the mind, and it's almost like a way of meditation and to open yourself up to, for the girls, so it's Saidar, right? And so they're working on that. And yeah, as you say, Varen is there, teaching them, and it's Nynaeve is very powerful, but her abilities, I mean, a lot of what is going on with her, she's, as they say, like a wilder, right? She's someone who has learned to channel kind of on her own and can touch the source and different things, but it seems like there's a certain way in which she does channel that it's real specific to her. I mean, it's just sort of like almost bad habits that have been learned. And if there was someone there to teach her in the beginning, you could, it's going to be easier, better, whatever. Like Nynaeve has a lot of potential, but because she had no one to train her, she has to undo a lot of her habits and different things. And you actually notice that in the whole first book, when you go back and look, the way she tugs on her braid, the way that she reacts and talks to people. Is she in control, out of control? Is she, getting angry, flashes of anger and stuff? So,
I like when, Varen describes it as, like being able to run, right? Almost like learning how to run before you learn how to walk, right? And okay, well, you've been okay a couple times, but if you keep doing this, eventually you're going to fall and it's going to hurt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and we learn too, along those same lines, that Varen tells them, if you draw too much of this power, that you can destroy yourself, that you can really be consumed by it. So you need to be careful about how much you draw in. And they do say that they warn the girls that you need to learn control, because once you start to learn how to touch the source, right, you're going to want more and more and more of it. It can almost become kind of addicting, and it is life. It is something that once you have it, you can't imagine life without it. It's necessary to them. So, but yeah, you have a couple. It's kind of cool. You get introduced to a couple of different Aes Sedai there. You have Alviarin, who shows up, which is pretty neat. Who comes in there and trains them a little bit. You've got Alana Sedai showing up, who's a green. Leandrin Sedai, who goes on and wants to know more about the boys. She's very much interested in them, and she's a red. So makes sense that why she would be so interested there. But yeah. So that's really just a big teaching session, and we're learning more about the different Ajas. And
I gotta say, Varen is definitely, I'm starting to like her more and more.
Oh yeah. She's cool. And so she's of the Brown Aja, right? And the Browns are very much into their books and knowledge and histories and this, understanding. They want to understand every little detail. And so in the first few chapters, when she's there with Egwene and Suan, who's the Amerlin seat, like just pay attention to Varen, because actually I think it does happen in these batch chapters where she seems to drift off or get caught up in the details just a little bit too much, and it's just her mind wandering and thinking. She's so curious and interested, almost like a scientist who's interested in all these different things. Who she reminds me of? What is the professor? Oh my God, in here, the Hufflepuff.
McGonagall?
No.
God.
What I'm talking about? She's herbology.
The herbology professor. Let me look it up.
People are probably going to be like, are you kidding me? I can't. But she reminds me of that type of individual, that type of person, who is...
Isn't it Sprout?
Professor
Sprout. Yeah.
That's right. Because she's got like a good personality, and she seems pleasant to be around, but then she kind of almost gets distracted and kind of caught up in stuff in her books or learning or whatever. So she's neat and will be important, and we're going to see. So we see her with the girls now, and then we will kind of come across her later on. She's going to join up with Rand.
Yeah.
So,
okay, chapter 13, from stone to stone. Yeah, everything changes right out of the gate. I mean, that's when Rand wakes up the next morning and finds that everyone's gone. Right, everyone except Loyal and Huron. Everyone's gone, and then they see the stone that they fell asleep to is now upright and in the center of the room, right? Of the hollow that they're in.
Yeah.
And we come to find it's a portal stone.
Yeah. This is pretty cool. I mean, this is how I said, right? I said this is coming. So like now we have portal stones, okay? And you imagine it's a portal. It's a stone that takes you. This is a way in which you can go to. Like another, what is this? Another world? Is it another realm? Is it the same time and place, or, what is it a portal to? We can talk about that later. But for now, yeah, it's definitely. It seems like they're in the same place, but yet not. As you say, the stone is now correct. The coloration looks a little bit different, but the land seems solid. And so it's very, very weird. They almost wonder if they're in a dream still, perhaps. So,
yeah. And Loyal thinks Loyal knows what it is. He thinks he knows what it is, and then he figures it out.
Yeah. Good old Loyal. He knows, right?
Loyal's great, man. He's a character who a lot of these characters, but I get it when everyone's like, whenever I talk to anybody who is a Wheel of Time enthusiast, it's like, everyone's got their group of characters, but they're all so good. I mean, that's what makes the story so great. And he's totally one of these characters. He's just hard not to love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he knows so much. So like in this example, when they're near that stone, he says something. He recalls, some Aes Sedai book that he was reading, and he kind of he recalls this quote where he says, "From stone to stone runs the lines of if between the worlds that might be," and gives us some, if you think about that for a little bit, between the worlds that might be, and so like a world of possibility or an alternate reality or whatever you want to call it. So you start to think about that, and you start to kind of wonder, is it real? To what degree are they truly here? And all of that. So yeah, and again, this was something it was sort of a remnant of the Age of Legends. These stones somehow, the Aes Sedai during those times had maybe more control and understood more about them. And there's like ruins. There's like these little markings too that you can look at and maybe they once could read and use them in some way. So there's directions on them if you know how to read it. So yeah.
Okay, and so then like the void shatters, right? After they go into this void, right? And then the void shatters, and then it's like into 1,000 shards, right? And then that's when like Rand kind of staggers back from the stone. And then Rand's like, I think he's using the power, right? It's like every time he's turning, it's like something's going on. He's like, and they're seeing things. It's like Rand's, it's pretty much stuff that they talk about like only a channeler could see.
Yeah, right. Because he's trying to figure out, like, I mean, he's guessing, right, that he's done this to them. I mean, he knows what he can do, and then with Loyal adding that tidbit in there about being Aes Sedai and this being a device that could have been used during the Age of Legends, you start to think he's wondering, all right, I got to get us out of here. I did something, and I don't even understand any of this stuff really. So maybe it's something I did in my sleep, during his dreams. Again, we're getting all these connections where Egwene was surprising individuals in her dreams, and Rand was. So we had a woman who was looking in on Rand, and who seemed to be interested in him. And Egwene saw that in their dreams, and then just when they awake in the next morning, boom, here we are. We just happened to fall asleep next to a portal stone. Maybe had we not have been next to the stone, we'd been all right. But yeah, so his whole thing is, I've got to get them back. I've got to figure out a way to get everybody back safely. Almost like he feels a responsibility, for kind of doing this to everybody.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Next chapter is Wolfbrother. This is where Perrin gets to use his... Perrin's a sniffer too, just in a different way.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So, in Huron's absence, Perrin uses his wolf sense of smell to track Fain, and Varen joins them. Right? So Ingtar cannot believe that Rand, Huron, and Loyal are nowhere to be found, right? They just can't be gone. And everyone's ready to go, but they wait to see if Uno can track the missing members. He can't. Right? He says, "I'm not a goat kissing track, my lord." But Ingtar will not accept that they have vanished. 3 men and 3 horse don't just vanish, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so so Matt suggests that maybe they ran away. Though the Shanarans do not take this well. Matt nearly lets slip of his parents and Rand's conversation the day before. Ingtar doesn't believe that Huron would just run away, nor Rand, now that he knows his duty, right? So Ingtar is very angry that Huron has disappeared, and they have since they've depended on his tracking skills.
Yeah, really, like what are you supposed to do? I mean, so this whole thing, I mean, Huron was leading them. I mean, Perrin, sometimes when we bounce to him, we're kind of getting confirmation that, we're on the right track, and he's sensing stuff too. So now we're fully going to rely on him. And this is one of those head turners, right, where the Shanarans are kind of like, Perrin steps forward and he's like, I just, I know what's up. And it's important to mention too, Ingtar is still in control. He's still number 1. And I meant to mention it earlier, but when he tells Rand, his big thing to Rand is that you're my number 2. You're second in command. So Rand was he was supposed to be in command of the whole bunch. If Ingtar falls, it's on Rand, and that's it. And it's kind of a cool... I bring that up only because now they're kind of leaning on Perrin, and everyone has their role to play inside of their unit.
Right. Lord Rand.
Lord Rand. Him. Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. Show him some respect, man.
Right. Yeah. So that's so I think that's interesting because I have to, while I'm on this train of thought here, I have to bring this up. So, and again, I'm sorry, this is back a couple chapters, but it's important that in this group, when Ingtar is explaining to Rand that you're second in command, Lord Orgrimmar set this up with Moiraine, I'm sure you'll do fine, and he says to him, honestly, you wouldn't have been my pick, but there's something else going on here, and so and he's telling Ingtar, well, I don't want it, I'm not going to do it, whatever, and he's like, you'll do what you must, you'll do what's required, like you will essentially. Really cool thing here, and I want people to remember this, I guess, as you think about Shanarans and you think about just sort of like the battles to come and fights that are going to take place. So everyone knows their order, and you basically, if your entire unit is killed and it's down to like just 5 guys, they know who's next in line. When this guy dies, now you have the command. If I die, I know this guy has the command. I don't know if you remember that part or not, but they get down to Ingtar kind of says, if it's down to 1 man, he's not just 1 man, he has the command. Of the, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh shoot. So it's not just that you're the last man standing, it's that no, you have the command of this unit in this field. You're in control now. Like the decisions are all on you. And I thought to myself, I was like, that's it. It's like you haven't lost hope and despair. And I thought that was so, when I was kind of rereading today and thinking about some things that I thought were really cool. And I was like, that's important. That's important that that's sort of in their culture and ingrained in their minds, that when you fight against the shadow, that may be what it comes down to. It may be that you're the last man standing, but fear not, you know, you're in command now. You've been elevated in some way. So there's that, which is just cool, because now you see Perrin kind of having to take over Huron's role and is a little reluctant to do so, but definitely now people are starting to kind of figure out, you know, the Shannarans are looking at him like, you have an ability like this? Like, what? This is bizarre. And here's something else, Sir Matt. When at first the Aes Sedai are a little interested in Huron, and they will continue, Varen especially will be interested in him and his abilities, they're ancient. Whatever this gift or this talent is, there's a couple of these things that stand out, right? So Min, for example, they're interested in her. They don't understand how her gift or her talent shows up. Huron, same type of thing. And Perrin. These are both things that are like, we're talking like things that are before the Age of Legends. Like this was legendary stuff to those that lived in the Age of Legends.
Yeah, when they talk about, you know, when Moiraine finds out, like when they all kind of get back together, right? Remember, and Rand runs into the room, and they're all kind of there, and they're kind of figuring everything else that's going on. Moiraine is like, hold on a second, you have yellow eyes. Like this is like a big deal, like big deal.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, man, and this is kind of it. Like, yeah, it's tough for Perrin to reveal this information. So they don't know where Rand went, or Loyal, or Huron, but he says like he at least couldn't find the horn. He can locate the horn and keep them on that trail, and they're guessing that Rand will also be pursuing the horn. And it's funny because the last chapter, that's sort of what Rand says, is that we're going in this direction. Huron, do you still have the scent? And boom, they both kind of keep following the same line, essentially, in different worlds. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump to chapter 15, Kinslayer, right? You know, this is where Rand follows the trail of the Dark Friends and has a dream with Balsamon. Man, Balsamon's just always showing up in Rand's dreams, all right?
I know, dude. I know.
I mean, give the guy a break.
Right. He can't get some sleep, man. He's got to get some sleep, you know?
Yeah, so this is where things get really kind of interesting, right? Because this is where Rand, Loyal, and Huron follow the faint trail in the unknown land. They're trying to figure out where they're at, right? You know, the strange way that the distant hill seems to slide toward Rand makes him dizzy, but the only way to avoid it is to be wrapped in the void, something which he wishes to avoid. Huron is focused on the trail as if he was trying to ignore the land that the trail crossed, and Loyal has drawn in on himself. The land they ride across is charred and burnt, but only in certain places. They all run east to west and are thicker in the middle than at the ends. Rand thinks of Watley Eldon painting a cart, and how the charred patches looked as though someone had streaked it with a monstrous brush of fire. The rest of the land looks dead. There's no birds, animals, anything in there. They say the water is safe to drink, but it tastes flat and boiled. Yeah. So they're definitely in an odd place.
They definitely are, and it's everything about it sort of makes them all kind of queasy and feel different. Like they shouldn't be there, or like it's odd. And that's a great way to describe the water, though. I mean, you kind of know what that tastes like, and you're sort of like, this is, it's not what it should be, and so that's upsetting.
Yeah,
but
it's like when I drink Coke instead of Pepsi. It's flat.
Right. Just exactly. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started. Don't get me
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see. Some interesting things happen here, though, right? So, Rand is giving the orders to follow the Dark Friends, as you say. Let's see here. So, Huron tells them that there's something strange about the trail. It's like I'm remembering it, Lord Rand, instead of smelling it. So that's
weird.
So things seem kind of backwards, right? There are other trails of violence crossing their own trail. So you go back to, this is a maybe a world of what could be or what may have been or whatever, this sort of if world, in between worlds, almost like a world of possibilities. And I think Huron's being thrown by these other scents, and it's sort of hard to keep track of everything. So, I mean, at least at first. So yeah, and there's so that's interesting.
So they make camp, right? And that's right, and then that's when Rand is the first to take watch. He's thinking about Padan Fain, and he keeps hearing this voice in the wind, right? It's like it's never over, Althor. Yeah. So he's doing all this as he falls to sleep, right? This is when he starts to have the dream of Balsmon, right? Every name you've ever used through age after age, long before you were even the kinslayer, right? This is when we're starting to get maybe that kind of loose Theron Rand Althor connection.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like he's starting to that hint right there that he's known him by various names, and he's looking at his companions. He's really trying to figure out here's something weird, right? He knows Lews Therin. Okay, so you can tell Balsamon kind of has a history there, and it has a history with him maybe being reborn, or the attempts for the pattern to kind of bring someone forward, and now he's trying to figure out who Rand is, and the combination of the two, and he kind of walks over to Huron, he walks over to Loyal, realizes that he has strange companions. And I thought it was really cool, just because when I think of a fellowship, or you think of a band of heroes, you've got different members to play different roles. It's not just one leader. Like oftentimes the dark side, if you will, they have, and I like Robert Jordan's dark side group because it's very diverse. It's interesting. But a lot of times you have like the great dark lord and then a bunch of minions, just overwhelming number of minions, and then you have a few generals and stuff. But like that one band of heroes that's moving along, you've got so many different characters, so much diversity, and everybody who's playing a role. And if you're into knowledge and maps and in histories, then you're attracted to Loyal, and you think he's cool and good and kind-hearted. If it's Matt, Matt's this rambunctious sort of shoot from the hip type of guy, and he's pretty funny. So yeah, you got all these different characters to kind of connect to, and so kind of neat that Balsamon is pointing that out, and he's inquiring that there's this girl who tries to watch over you, and that confuses him. He's thinking of Moiraine, but we remember, not too long ago, and actually we didn't cover it in real great detail, but Egwene actually tries to go to the other Aes Sedai, or maybe that's even coming up.
Right. It was in that last chapter. Yeah. We did talk about the dream she has, but yeah, you're right. She goes to all these other Aes Sedai, and she's saying, Rand's in trouble. Rand is in trouble. Right. And they kind of brush her off. They're like, it's fine. It's like, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And so you start to realize, and some of those Aes Sedai will start to realize that, this is not going away, and this is not, they start to say things like, we haven't had a dreamer in the tower for however many years, a true dreamer. And so you're like, what is that? And we learn more about that for sure, because it's concerned Balsamon. He's definitely taken off guard by her, and it appears that she's someone who's watching over Rand and is very concerned. So,
right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. The only other thing that happens in this that is interesting that we should probably point out, so he's trying to convince him to serve the Dark One, and basically, again, as Moiraine told them, and again, I would tell all of our listeners as well, right? So here's the advice. You have to deny the Dark One. Okay, I know Nick would disagree with me on this one, but deny him and all of his power. He has no power. Okay, so I deny you and I deny your power is what he says to him. And he keeps trying to convince him to come over, promises of immortality, sheltering him from madness, that this power can be yours. And what's weird is at one point he was like, you're either going to serve me in life or you're going to serve me in death. Better to serve me in life now and serve me now versus die and then serve me in the afterlife. I mean,
yeah.
So there's that. And here's the big one. So Rand refuses to follow him. And this is right at the end of that chapter. And it causes this fog to catch fire, and his sword glowed as if just drawn from the forge, and it's epic. So he's confronting him, possibly drawing on maybe the power or something again, and suddenly the fire is gone, and so is Ba'alzamon. And when he wakes up, his hand is branded, right, with the heron from his sword. So we've been learning about this heron mark. This heron-marked blade, and now we have, Rand if he looks at his hand, there is a branded heron from his sword. So again, that was a dream, right? So
right.
Matt, that's stuff that's happening.
But
there.
That's
transferring over. I mean,
that's been the case. That's been the case, right? Is a lot of these dreams have been really more than just dreams.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, right. And so. It's one of the things I'll just say, and it's been briefly mentioned before this point, but the heron markings are really important, not only on the sword, but just in a lot of what Moraine and others are looking for. So that's pretty significant. We need to kind of hone in on that, and we're going to come back to that later. So that's an important part. So
yeah. All right, next chapter 16, In the Mirror of Darkness. Rand and company encounter a mysterious woman, Selene. So, yeah. So, I mean, before that happens, though, Rand, Loyal, and Huron, that's when they leave the campsite, and then Loyal notices that mark that's on Rand's hand, right? He sees, thinking it's an injury. Rand does not welcome Loyal's concern over the over the injury. So, as they're traveling, they come across a tapering column that they believe could be Artur Hawkwing's spire for his victory against the Trollocs, despite the fact that it had been torn down many years before. But as they ride closer, there's a bird visible on the spire, and Rand believes that's Artur Hawkwing's hawk. Mm-hmm. But they get there and they find out it's a raven. So there's a lot of things they're starting to think, oh, this is connected to Artur Hawkwing. This is connected. And then they find a woman that's cornered by a creature, right? A Grolm, right?
Yeah.
Grolm? Yeah.
Yeah, Grolm, yeah.
Yeah, he tries to kill it by shooting an arrow, but it doesn't work, only angering the beast as it charges at him. After the woman's urging, he uses the void and shoots the arrow in the eye, killing it. So then this is when they meet the woman, and they talk about this woman as if she's like the single most beautiful woman. Even Loyal is like, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life.
Right. They're stuttering, they're stammering, they're trying to. I mean, I think at one point you look at this, right? I don't know. I hope they do this with some comedy or so. I don't know, but at one, Rand is maybe they're engaged. This is an odd world that they're in, anyways, and I almost wonder if maybe it's amplified because of that. I mean, again, I know that she's just absolutely beautiful and stunning, and there's more to it than that, though. She's great. I love this character so much, but You look at Rand, and then I imagine the TV show you flash over to Huron, and his mouth is just hanging open. It was this. It's like a cartoon, because they just can't. And Rand talks about his internal feelings. He feels compelled to do things for her. Like he wants to do whatever she wants him to do. Like he's very much just like, yeah, we got to do that or whatever. And yeah, it's weird. It's almost like they lose track of time a little bit, and they're definitely thrown off. And it's interesting because Rand does have a thought when she's yelling at him. She's giving him instructions as to how to kill that monster, right? How to kill that Grolm, and it's to shoot it in the eye. And he wouldn't have. I mean, again, he's a great shot, but if that's where you needed to shoot it, and that information is provided for you. That's interesting. How did we know that? Who are you? Yeah. So that's interesting. And she seems to know quite a bit. At one point, I think Rand even asked her, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he asked her about whether or not she's an Aes Sedai or something.
He does, and she doesn't necessarily take offense to it, but she's like, no, definitely not.
Strongly no. Yeah. It was a strong enough no that like she's not mad at him, but don't ever ask that again type of thing. I mean,
right.
So it was a pretty strong no. But she does have information that it's makes us wonder who. I mean,
who is she?
She's not just.
There's definitely something going on, and then it may not entirely be this chapter, but good God, is she interested in Rand?
Yeah. She's always praising him and telling him, just how good he is, and she's asking about, really how is he so good with his bow, and what is it that he, when she hears about him seeking the void and some of that terminology, she's very fascinated by that.
Right.
She actually calls that. Yeah.
Right. Because we're in chapter 16, but really 17. So there is one Egwene chapter, but 17 and 19, they all kind of happen together, and it's all this group. So I think we could probably talk about all three of these chapters and then just finish with Egwene.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So we can skip the Egwene. Yeah, that's fine, because here we are. One thing that she notes is her terminology for stuff is different. So she's calling the void oneness.
Yeah, because okay, cool. Don't want to interrupt you here real quick, because the only thing. Well, let's. I'll just talk briefly about the Egwene chapter, then we can talk about all three at once.
Oh, that's fine.
So the Egwene chapter, they're just kind of training. They're having more lessons. They're pushing themselves a little bit further. I mean, that's basically kind of. There's nothing really big that kind of happens in that. It's just kind of further training. So I just want to mention that real quick. But then
we can get extended.
Okay, exactly. And then we can kind of talk about these final three chapters that all go with this.
Yeah, for sure. Because this is fascinating. I mean, we kind of, you can tell in the writing style, we're going to catch back up with Egwene and those guys later. But yeah, she's definitely, man, she seems to know a lot about this world that they're in. So Selene, again, we're talking about her, and she's urging Rand. It's weird because we, the reader, now it's almost pretty obvious, actually, that she has some influence or something, because you almost see Rand as if he's shaking off like some type of, I hate to say it like this, but I mean, like he's shaking off like was he in a spell? Is he just spellbound by her, like some love? Like is he intoxicated? Is it love at first sight? I mean, what is it that he is? He really, really likes this individual. There's something about her that's just so appealing, right. And you'll see him shake it off once in a while, and you don't really see the other characters do that.
She's coming on to him. I'm talking strong.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's kind of thinking, I got Egwene, I can't, I still.
Yeah. And remember how he thinks about this happens all the time. He was like, I wish Perrin were here. Perrin would.
They
know
always
say
do
to
that,
her.
Right? Rand's always like, I wish Perrin were here. Perrin knows how to talk to girls, and Perrin's always like, I wish Rand were here. Rand knows how to talk to girls.
Exactly. So that was one of my best polls, I think, which is, which of them, who can talk to girls better, right? We'll kind of keep exploring that as we go throughout the series. But yeah, it's, he's wanting some guidance in here, navigating this. He's a young man trying to figure out what do I do. And she's pulling on some, various things. She's basically talking about glory and talking about at first I take that back. So right now we're not quite there, but yet she's trying to move them in the right direction. And she's getting them to, she knows about these Grolm, and she knows that they have their scent. That was a small pack. There's going to be more coming later. So, get ready. Here's sort of what we should do, right? And that's odd. So they get to another stone, though, right? So they gather around another stone. He moves there, and Rand is trying to seek the void and channel a little bit, right? Because he's trying to get them out of this world that they're in. Yeah, so he's there, and he's said that he was one with the portal stone. So, and it allowed for the four of them to return to the real world. And when he gets there, though, he lets go of Saidin regretfully. Like, he doesn't actually... it's something he wants to keep pulling on. And remember, I had said earlier, Varen and others had warned Egwene and Nynaeve that the power is intoxicating. It's something that when you draw upon it, you're going to want more. And to be careful because you could burn yourself out. And so that's something that he's kind of experiencing. But really that whole... We're going to come back to Portal Stones because there is actually a lot of stuff that goes on that I think is pretty cool with Portal Stones, especially in this book as a whole, and what he's doing at them, what he's thinking about, what they actually represent and mean, and Selene's connection and her ability to recognize some of the markings, by the way, on the stone is crazy. And even Rand's sort of ability to do that is remarkable.
And you know, the thing about her that really stands out to me though is she's like pushing for him to go get this horn and pushing for him to kind of use his power and really kind of put all these things. He's like, I don't want anything to do with it, right? And she's like, but think of the glory to the one that comes, you know, with the horn, right? I mean, think of everything you could be.
Exactly.
I mean, she's pushing him in that direction.
You're right. Exactly. She really is like almost ambitious, but she's also playing up this sort of like, oh gosh, almost like, I mean, no, she's not a farm girl. She looks like
she's definitely not. Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, she has a little bit of this, or she's letting out a little bit of this line of innocence where it's like, wouldn't that be great? And thanks for saving me. And it's almost like she's like she's in distress and is saved, but yet let me urge you along. For us the reader, we just know it's pretty abrupt. And we know how things have developed with Lan and Nynaeve and Rand and Egwene, and that development didn't happen very quick. And this seems to all be coming on fast. So you know, it's making us a little bit like, you know, leery, I guess.
Right. So if you go to the chapter 19, right, this is where they actually end up getting the horn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're having, you know, Rand's like stammering, talking to her and stuff like that. You know, like, I don't know, it wouldn't be proper, right? You know, like, and she's talking about the glory that will come to the one who has the horn. You can be the next Arter Hawkwing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And then, you know, we know, as we kind of said, that when they get it, she's able to read the description on it and translates it. Which, hey. The grave is no bar to my call.
That's right.
Where have we heard that before, right?
That's right.
Right. But I mean, she's the one. She's able to transcribe it. So there's definitely something more to this lady.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a pretty cool you know, moment where he takes back the horn. He does some sneaking and he gets up. I mean, he is right in the thick of this. And it's actually, when you really, at least for me, on a reread, when I go back and I think about Fain's character and I think about the power that's just what's going on with him and the craziness to all of this and how he keeps talking about meeting Rand on Toman Head and later on, like, you know, on Almouth Plain and these different places. You're like, we haven't been there yet. We don't really even know what that's all about. So for this to go down right now, let me ask you a question, Sir Matt. Did you think, I guess in your reading, that we were going to get the horn back this quick?
No, I didn't think we were going to get the horn. If you go back a couple episodes, I thought that was how this book would end.
Yeah,
right. Is that we'd get it,
and it's back, right? I mean, they, you know, he's able to get it back from him, which is which I mean,
crazy. unless it's going to be, I mean, you know, unless it's going to be like, oh, then it's stolen back from them, and it's like a back and forth type thing. And so that's the whole book is about the hunt for the horn, both the good guys and the bad guys.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Now remember, they're still separated from the group. So they are now. Here's something
they're way off in their own in some different place.
Yeah. So what did you think about? So again, they both were on this same trail. Okay, and you know the Shinarans, when they were all together, they were trying to catch up to Padan Fain and his Trollocs and Dark Friends, and they're moving quickly. Now all of a sudden, they're on top of them when they come out of the portal stone. They're like right near them. I mean, it's almost like they kind of leaped over, like they
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, because when you go back now, like later on, you'll look at where the other group is. It's odd. It's odd about kind of where their positioning is at, you know, and how Rand was sort of able to keep up and sense Padan Fain and do his whole thing here and get the dagger back. But yeah, this is something though. It upsets Fain like crazy. I mean, he goes nuts. And so they you know, it's kind of wild. So they turn. They're running out of there, right? And actually, Rand turns and fights some more Trollocs. So we're starting to see him level up and actually just like, you know, fighting skills with his blade.
Yeah,
So
I think he kills. I think he kills like 6 Trollocs this chapter.
Yeah. So that was pretty neat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're slowly getting more and more of Rand's training. I mean, I still remember when he accidentally kills a Trolloc, and now, he can take a few on, and then, but I mean, if you go back, he's been training with Lan, and he uses the power at the end of the first book, and so yeah, you're right. You know, think of it like a game, like he's leveling up.
Yes, exactly. You know, something I forgot about this that's kind of cool is that chest is super heavy. And I forgot that they used Loyal to grab it and pick it up and carry the chest, just because Loyal can run as fast as a horse, man. I mean, he can also carry that chest, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, because they sneak in there. You learn more about the nature of Trollocs, which is actually pretty cool too. That they often are lazy and give up, and it's actually a connection to like orcs in Tolkien's work. Oftentimes, like if their leader was killed, if the captain of the orcs was killed in Middle Earth, you know, they might split and scatter, and you didn't really have to fight a whole group of them. You just really had to kill the person who was in charge of them. Same type of thing. These Trollocs seem, I mean, they're kind of, you know, again, bent on killing, but they're a little lazy, and they're not the best guards. They're not the best at you know, various duties, unless it's just, you know, rage and killing. So that's important to keep in mind, I guess, as you move forward. Like, they're not really the mind at all. It's why they're typically accompanied by a Murdral or, you know, a Fade. So that was neat to get some insight there. And then the other thing that was interesting is Rand brings up the dagger. He wants to take the horn directly back to Valdara, right? Back to Shannara. And instead, so they don't know where everyone else is. And it's essentially Selene who convinces him to press on to Cairhien. So that's where they're going to go, and they're going to wait for Ingtar.
Yeah, you cannot go back now. You are committed.
Yes. Yeah, so she's really persuasive. I mean, and she's oftentimes really pushing him in this direction. It seems a lot like Moiraine at first. At just a quick cursory glance at this, you might think that maybe she's doing what Moiraine wasn't willing to do. You know, right. It is sort of push. I mean, Moraine's taking this opposite approach of let him do what he wants, and here's Selene coming in saying, you know, I'm going to, I don't know. I mean, she definitely catches his eye, and then is trying to use that. I mean, really, right? I mean, that's in the book. I mean, it's there. So, yeah. It's just interesting. So that's pretty much it. I mean, major takeaways on this is just, I think the portal stones are fascinating, that whole world, and learning about these different abilities. I mean, you can see how this quickly goes to like this higher levels of fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've gone way up in the ranks of high fantasy. I mean,
yeah.
I mean that's where, and really, again, to me, it's just all these new characters. We just keep getting introduced to new characters, and now we have this Selene character who it's like every time, you know, some stories, it's not necessarily the characters, but something happens in the plot that's like a game changer. Okay, all right, boom. Okay, now this has happened, and this is going to be what the story revolves around for the next chapters. But in this, man, it's like a new character comes in and everything changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I know.
And as we're the pace at which we're reading this too. I mean, you know, I thought it's going to take forever, but not really. I think we're on a really good pace here because I mean it just feels like every time I'm just like, oh no, I still feel like we just met Loyal.
I know. I know. Yeah. I think it's good because you're definitely going to move through the series. And again, there's stuff we've said before that we're going to maybe not be able to spend as much time on, and that's okay because the hope is we get a lot of this in before the show comes out, and we'll be able to kind of gauge that and look at that and react to it, and then continue on with our initial read for Matt and a reread for me, and down the line it's like it's such a great series to reread. I'll say that from experience, and I know right now Matt is loving this. I love when I get the text just about where he's at, and I'm like, oh, I literally start rubbing my hands. I'm just like, here we go.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Here we go.
I texted you earlier today because I was just plowing through the last chapter, and I was just like, my God, Selene and Rand.
Well, I mean, here's something. I mean, like straight up. I mean, we're not just saying this, so if anybody's kind of, like, I don't know, maybe if you didn't pay close enough attention to some of the stuff that happens between those two characters, she literally is like, wishing to clean her dress, and she's looking through his bags for a short for a shirt, and he's saying things like, it just wouldn't be proper. He's got this sort of like, oh no. Remember how embarrassed he was when he was and like the women all came in and they changed his wardrobe, and they're like, strip, take everything off. He's like, what? It was just hysterical to see the awkwardness, right? That you're like, I don't get it. Anytime you get those blending of like what's acceptable in one culture versus not here, what's proper here is not proper there, I always think it's kind of funny, and it's just humorous because it is what it is, and people are just, you're blending those lines, and you're so Rand struggling with that is comical. He's just like, oh, I don't
right. Well, it's also because this girl's coming on to him strong, and he's thinking of Egwene too at the same time. So it's like, oh yeah,
such a dilemma. Yeah,
right. Yeah, there's that going on as well.
Yeah, what would she call me? What would she think? Oh my goodness. I mean, can you imagine too? By the way, I mean, really, if she were here, and there wasn't any of that stuff going on with her in dreams, like if she saw these interactions happening, what would she actually say?
Yeah, I mean she's literally asking him to help her take off like her shirt. I mean, right? I mean, it's like
pretty much.
She is right. I mean, thank you. Her hands went behind her back to the buttons. He realized, eyes wide open, he spun away from her. If you could help me with these, it'd be much easier. Rand clears his throat. It would not be proper, right? It isn't as if we're promised, or stop thinking about.
Oh my gosh, good old Rand. And this is where you fall in love with these characters. You really do. And you really get to watch them kind of grow up. Right. And he
turns around. Yeah, he turns around, and the words died in his mouth. Her dress lay across her arm, and she was wearing his shirt, hanging in baggy folds on her. Right? I mean,
Yeah, they didn't finish it all. You fill in the blank for yourself there, but. Yeah, it's So I'm imagining Egwene losing her mind. By the way, like,
oh my God, yeah, Egwene would be losing. Egwene would be literally losing her mind right now.
They always talk about traditions, right? A girl's braided hair, and what did that signify when you could braid your hair and all that kind of stuff. And when Nynaeve tells, like later on, I'm not the wisdom anymore, and unbraids her hair. The whole thing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
they have these customs.
Literally, literally. I mean, just listen to this, right? Let's just talk about.
Go
this,
ahead,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just read this here, right? He turned the words out of his mouth. The shirt hangs, and she wore his shirt, hanging in the baggy folds on her. It was a long-tailed shirt made for his height, but she was tall for a woman. The bottom of it came a little more than halfway down her thighs. It was not as if he had never seen a girl's legs before, but girls in the Two Rivers always tied up their skirts, to go wading in the water. But they stopped doing it well before they were old enough to braid their hair. The moonlight seemed to make her skin glow. What is it you don't know, Rand? The sound of her voice unfroze his joints. With a loud cough, he whirled to face the other way. I think, I mean, he's literally like stuttering. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. It's actually funny. Again, I imagine like this is the stuff.
She touches his back. He says he almost like squeaks, like
yeah. And that's something in the show. They've got it. That's a spot for humor. It's something we'll laugh at and we'll grin and we'll be like, oh boy, here we go.
Right.
And it's good writing. I mean, Robert Jordan. It's actually really. I think it's. I don't know. when you listen to interviews with him and he talks about like some of these things that were really like he draws a lot on just human experience in life and you know those transitional phases we go through and stuff that we're learning and you're growing up and it's like it's just funny.
Yeah, so. It's great. It's great. You're just reading it and you're just like grinning and laughing. I mean, the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you're laughing because he's he's blushing and Rand's trying to figure the whole thing out. You're even laughing too when back when Perrin was watching Egwene dance and thinking about what would Rand think and what should he do, and he's not good with talking with girls and stuff. Just one
part of this is that they're growing up. I mean, that's definitely part of it too.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say, and for anyone who was listening and who has read the series before, I'm sure people are sitting there saying, "Oh, just wait," because like there's so much more to like the romances and stuff. Just I'll just say Matt's character alone is I love him so much.
Right.
He's so great. But yeah, oh gosh, so yeah, real good batch of chapters and fun stuff and
we'll cover more of some of that Egwene Nynaeve stuff in the
yes,
yeah, especially that chapter 18 where they're training. So
yeah, because we got to get more familiar with some of the Aes Sedai and their names and their Ajas and power, what they can and can't do. There's a lot of rigidity there to that group, rules and things that it's important. He slowly introduces you to a lot of that, and I think it'll be good for us in Extended Edition to go over all that. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, Ez, I think is that it for us today?
I mean, yeah. So, again, it kind of it's been kind of a crazy, just everything that's going on in the world, friends. There's just been so much happening, and it's been a lot. It's been a big transition for I think everyone, and yeah. So I've been kind of behind. I've been transitioning. Those of you that don't know, I teach high school, and it's just been a little different. So I'm trying to figure some things out, and every week we're getting updates on different things we have to do. So sometimes this week I just kind of got so many things, and Sir Matt knows this, just kind of popped up today and stuff. But definitely wanted to make sure we got this out to you guys today and everything. So we'll go over Patreon comments and things like that later on and get back after that. And really, again, anyone who wants to send me a poll topic, I'm telling you right now, I would love some funny interactive polls. It would just I'm asking for that. I'm making the sounding the horn, hoping that people will answer the call and send me some of those because I want to have some more fun with those folks over on Twitter. But yeah. So it's great, and I think that's pretty much it for today, and we'll see you guys with the extended edition. So
absolutely. So all right. Well, we want to thank you for answering the call. In our next episode, we will be discussing chapters 20 through 29.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a message at thehornofvalir@gmail.com.
We will see you soon, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.